Black History. It is so good to see you this morning. My name is Abigail. I am one of the fellows at the center. In the chat, please tell us where you are from, your role as an educator, and what brings you here today. We will get started in about 2 minutes after we let some more people into this space. All right, good morning. Hi, Shakila. Hi, Terry. Oh, yes. Donovan is my purpose today, too. I'm feeling that. Feel that love.
That's the only reason I pulled up on a Saturday. So, yeah.
Okay.
I'm in position.
All right. I love that. Right. Good morning, Daniel. All right. If you're just joining us, my name's Abigail. I'm a fellow at the center. Thank you so much for joining us for this Black History Nerd session. It's going to be so dope with Queen Dawnavyn presenting today. Queen Dom, in the chat, please tell us where you're from, your role as an educator, and what brings you here today. Hey, Laura.
Hi, Abigail.
Thanks for joining us, Kimberly. Oh, Jania's here too. Oh, I love having my micro-credential educators here. I love that. They be showing up. Thank you, Dee. Awesome. Oh, Donovan's mom's here. Oh, this is like the best Saturday morning ever. Oh, that's so lovely. All right, let's go ahead and get started. If you are just joining us, please put in the chat where you're from, your role as an educator, and what brings you here today. Again, my name is Abigail. I am a fellow here at the center. I'm really, really excited for this Black History Nerd session as it celebrates another fellow, our wonderful Queen Dom, Dawnavyn James. All right, so here at the Center for K-12 Black History and Racial Literacy Education, we're at UB. This is a space that I'm really happy to join. I'm about to finish up my first year as a doctoral student. Here at the center, we do research, we do professional development, networking, advocacy, and consulting, and Black History Nerd sessions like the one that you joined this morning. All right, here is our wonderful team. We have Professor King and also Christina King is part of the center, Queen Dom right there in the middle with her wonderful book, Beyond February. Please get that if you haven't gotten it yet. Hannah, who helps us run the center as well. And then at the bottom, we have all the wonderful fellows from Daphne, Dee, Hannah, and Russell. All right, and also huge shout out, right? We've got some graduations coming up. Greg, who's with us today, will be graduating. He's soon going to be a Dr. Simmons. And then one of our fabulous volunteers, Montana, will be graduating and soon will be entering the classroom as a teacher. I cannot wait to see where Montana ends up. All right, we have some other things going on too. We have developed a partnership with the Charter School of Inquiry, a fabulous school right here in Buffalo. We are supporting them through a book drive and specifically for Juneteenth. We've also connected with this author, Aaliyah Agostini. She wrote a fabulous book about Juneteenth, and she will be part of this Juneteenth celebration.
It's going to be awesome, by the way.
Oh, yes, that that was Laura. Laura, she is a teacher at CSI. She's also part of the micro-credential. I'm going to go to the Juneteenth celebration myself, and I am really, really looking forward to it. All right. Our biggest event, though, is the Teaching Black History Conference. That takes place from July 25th to 27th. Our theme this year is Black Boy Joy, Black Girl Magic, the history of Black childhoods. Registration is now open. Please come join us. Come see Buffalo in the summertime. It is really, really nice. Also, like the Teaching Black History Conference is just a wonderful opportunity to connect with other educators, to network, find out what other teachers throughout the country are doing to teach Black history effectively and well. The Teaching Black History Conference is also what introduced me to the center. I went year after year, and finally it was like, ooh, something's going on in Buffalo. I really need to come and join these wonderful folks. So please come join us at the conference this summer. Registration is now open. All right, Teaching Black History micro-credential. We just finished up like 2 or 3 weeks ago, Teaching Black History 2, which is the second course of this micro-credential program. This is a 1-year micro done completely virtually, except for attending the conference as the capstone. Myself and Dee Forbes are the instructors for that course. We are also currently accepting applications for our second cohort. Classes would begin in the fall. If you would like to increase your content knowledge in Black history and also learn more about effective Black history pedagogies, please consider applying for this program. We will also be dropping links soon for both the conference and this micro-credential. You can also email me. I'll put my email in the chat too if you have any questions about the micro-credential. All right. So today is our last Black History Nerds for this current school year, but we will be kicking it off again in the fall. On September 13th, we'll have Shirley Field Smith on creating educational justice. On October 11th, we will have Khalid Al-Hakim on the 30th anniversary of the Million Man March. On the 8th of November, we'll have 10 plus Black Lives Matter. And then on December 13th, we will be discussing Hurricane Katrina. Oops. All right, our fall book club has been selected. The book will be Creating Educational Justice, Learning from Black Home Educators. It'll start on September 13th. Please just continue to check out the center's website for more information on that book club. Also, we will have a fall researching race series. This is another wonderful opportunity to gain some professional development. This will take place on November 18th, and our topic for this researching race series is theorizing Black girlhood. All right, and at this time, I am going to pass it off to Professor King, who is going to introduce Dawnavyn and tell you a little bit about what she has been working on.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us, today. This is a little different nerd session here where we are probably going to focus a little bit more on research than we normally do, mainly because this will be a highlight of, Dawnavyn's PhD journey, right? So if you ever, decide to obtain a PhD, earn a PhD, we would love you here at the center here at the University of Buffalo. But there's certain, points and celebration points that, we have throughout the your time, your 4 to 5 years obtaining your PhD here. So this is what we'll call the research component, which is, helping us or helping the student, right, the PhD student, learn how to conduct independent research. And this is, Dawnavyn's project here. I've got a testimony reading, recovering, and revisioning in Black history picture books, and I'm so excited for her to be presenting this topic and this information. Feel free after she finishes to ask questions and celebrate her journey. All right, Dawnavyn, up to you.
All right. Good morning. Thank y'all so much for being here. I first want to acknowledge that my mama is in the room, the D James. So I appreciate her being here. And my best friend Raquel, all the way from Houston, Texas, is also here. And so I just wanted to shout out them. And then also two of my committee members, Dr. Tolino and Dr. Austin. I'm also excited that y'all are here. I love quotes. I am a quote collector, and I wanted to start my presentation off with this quote specifically that will be woven throughout this presentation today and throughout my research. We come to this work inhabiting cosmologies of knowledge and being that will never fit neatly into the academy. So as was said, the topic or the title of my research, which is a paper I'm also writing, I've got a testimony, reading, recovering, and revisioning in Black history picture books. I am Dawnavyn James, ending my third year here at the University of Buffalo as a doc student. And I believe it also says I'm an author. I'm the author of Beyond February, Teaching Black History Any Day, Every Day, and All Year Long. So in a course I took with Dr. Monreal in Latinx theory, we talked a lot about ancestors, which is a lot in the heart of this work today, in the heart of my research study. And one of the pieces we read is The Dead Still Crave Dessert. And it was written by Dr. Kenitra Brooks. And one of the things she said is that ancestors always eat first. And it's a piece that has stuck with me since I took the class. So I want to honor and uplift some ancestors before I get started. Many ancestors and elders paved the way for the ongoing liberation of Black folks. We refer to our ancestors and elders as OGs, in which they are greatly respected. We recognize and honor those who come before us and who have been on this journey longer than we have. Due to their wisdom, OGs understand what to expect and have done the work for us. And this is from the Black Gaze Framework. So there are many OGs that I want to honor, but for this specific work that I do, I want to honor the Madeline Morgan, who was an educator, writer, activist, and Black history curriculum developer. And she vowed that when she became a teacher, no student would ever leave her classroom without some knowledge of the history of Afro-Americans. And I honor her because I also share that sentiment. And of course, I want to honor my abuelitas. Grandmothers do not just hold on to knowledge, they actively educate in a manner unique to their contextual histories as well as their ancestral knowledge base. In other words, grandmothers don't just keep traditions, grandmothers teach traditions with intentionality. Those traditions are like a form of curriculum. And so these are my abuelitas, all three of them ancestors, as they are no longer here with me. So the first is Callie Will James, my daddy's mama. Matilda James, my daddy's grandma, Callie Will's mama. And then my mama's mama, Alberta, Big Al, as we like to call her. And then there's my brother.
I can truly say that I've been blessed. I have a testimony. As I look back on my life, and I think things over, I can truly say that I've been blessed. I got a testimony. Let me say it. Oh, as you look back over your life, and you think things over, you
So testimonial, like testimony, calls us to engage in critical reflection through the telling of a personal narrative that puts one in communion with a collective experience. Like testimony shared in church, the testifier's story is meant to bring about change. And Barnell et al. 2012 would add that this happens through consciousness raising. No matter what form a testimonial takes, listening is central to the pedagogical practice of testimonial. Hearing a testimonial is not the same as listening to a testimonial. In this genre, listening is the precursor to telling. As a listener, another's testimonial is much like a gift. The listener unwraps the testimonial to reveal the heart of the matter. So, growing up and being a member of many Black churches was an adventure, and my least favorite time was testimony time. It meant it would be that we would be at church even longer than my brother and I would have wanted to. But it was also one of the most predictable parts of the service because I knew what each person that was testifying was going to do. They will open their testimony by honoring God, who is first in their life, and acknowledge all the people in the pulpit. The testimony continued with a story that was usually heartbreaking or shocking, with everyone in the congregation on the edges of their seats. We knew the testimony had ended when the testifier shared about the goodness of God and how he had stepped in at the end of the story to solve a problem, make something better, heal someone, or provide money so the bills could get paid. At this point, the adults in the church were shouting, clapping, and praising God for what he had done, how he turned a story full of sadness or fear into a story of triumph worth celebrating. As an adult, I understand both the value and sacredness of testimony time. I've also learned that one doesn't need to wait until the end of a church service to share a testimony. Testimonies can be shared anywhere with anyone, and you can have as many testimonies as you like. I would wait to tell you my testimony, but I've got a testimony that I must share with you now. So, first giving honor to Black history, who is the head and heart of my research, and to Rudine Sims Bishop, Carol Boston Weatherford, and Eloise Greenfield. Since a child, I have looked at Black history through a lens of wonder and intense curiosity. As many of you know, I come to this work as a Black woman educator who has taught Black history to her elementary students beyond February. As an elementary educator and now a scholar, I always knew that I approached Black history instruction differently, but I couldn't prove it in the way that researchers do. So for my study, the problem is that Black history is being restricted and dreaded. Though mandated in some spaces, early childhood and elementary educators, schools, and their districts struggle with integrating Black history into the curriculum. They avoid, resist, and exclude quality African American children's literature in classrooms and lack Black historical consciousness. So the purpose of my study was to first provide insight into what can be revealed and recovered when our ancestors send warning and share wisdom, which my finely tuned ear can hear, while reading Black history picture books with intent and how these revelations can support the Black history instruction of early childhood and elementary educators. And the second purpose of my study is to embrace and conjure Black women's ways of knowing while uplifting Black thinking and knowledge as valid in research. So I had three research questions. The first, how do I use ancestral knowledges and nudges to read and identify Black history picture books? What is recovered when I read these books? And for early childhood and elementary educators, what are the implications of using Black ancestral text analysis to read and identify Black history picture books that can support their Black history instruction? So for my literature review, I really started with historicizing what picture books are. So defining what picture books are and the importance of how they rely on both illustrations and the text to convey a story. The text and illustrations have to work together. And then I spent some time looking at African American children's literature, and it is defined as books about African Americans written by African Americans and sometimes white adults and intended for children. African American children's literature has been a tool to relay information to children, especially Black children, for centuries. So, access to and having and the creation of African American children's literature isn't new. So, I needed to, of course, take it back and learn about that. I also in my literature review include some work from Martin, who did a timeline of African American children's literature in 2004 in her book Black, Brown Gold. And she viewed African American children's picture books specifically. So we're kind of honing in from literature to specifically the picture books as housing positive images of Black American life that provided a celebration and acceptance of Blackness through both text and illustrations. One of the main themes of African American picture books is pride in Black heritage and history, and authors and poets like Eloise Greenfield produced literature that gave children true knowledge of Black history. Black children's literature removes the limit of Black history to only the United States, as Black history exists globally. So there was African American and Black were used interchangeably in a lot of these definitions. And in my thinking, African Americans limits Black history to only America, but I like to use the term Black history because that expands it globally, because Blackness exists globally. It is infinite. I also then added on top of that Black nonfiction from one of my favorite Black history picture book authors, Carol Boston Weatherford, who says that Black nonfiction, which are the books she writes, is a testament. Black testament encompasses tradition, tributes, trials and trauma, triumphs, transformation, and, to borrow from biblical proverbs, training up a child, while also filling in knowledge gaps. Those are the books that she writes. And in another description of Black Testament and Black nonfiction, Weatherford outlines how her Black nonfiction picture books fill in knowledge gaps that honor the ancestors and help to spark conversations with educators and their students. Her texts are age appropriate as to offer truth as a pathway to recover, reconcile, and repair the harmful teachings, misconceptions, and narratives about Black life, history, people, and culture. So using all of that from the literature review, and then using the way that I try to define Black history picture books in Beyond February by categorizing them in different types of books, and then leaning into the Black historical consciousness principles and Carol Boston Weatherford's Black nonfiction and Black nonfiction as testament, I have a working definition of what I see Black history picture books to be. And to me, Black history picture books have threads of or solely focus on Black historical people, events, moments, and or cultural practices. They contain accurate Black historical information and are written and or illustrated by Black storytellers. Black history picture books show evidence of the author and illustrator's research and can be fictional or non-fictional. So for my theoretical framework, which also helped me to define Black history picture books, I lean on the doctors, Teague and Dr. Nagbe, and their Black ancestral text analysis. Shout out to future Dr. Bibbs for sending me this paper back in November. I was actually at a conference. Daphne sent me this article, and I remember being in the airport devouring the 11 pages that this paper is. So Black ancestral text analysis honors ancestral knowledges, internal nudges, and the unseen and seen revelations recovered through the reading and analysis of archival texts. Teague and Nagbe invite those who, with a finely tuned eye, to use archival spaces as ancestral meeting places to mine and discern the ancestral messages and wisdoms left to be found and known. Researchers are encouraged to return to text and bear witness to what has been lost, found, and what might need to be protected. As ancestral guides within this framework, researchers depend on 4 intellectual ancestors and elders: Toni Morrison, Sylvia Wynter, Audre Lorde, and Catherine McKittrick. So with this, I wanted to honor these women as they are part of this theoretical framework and how they helped me with this study. So Morrison confirms how instructive and protective ancestors are, as McKittrick reminds us of the disruptive work of Black knowledge as we study Black livingness and waymaking. Using the inner eye, Wynter requests our use of the inner eye to extract ancestral messages from archival texts, and as our ancestors often ask us to do, we must listen. Lorde invites us to meditate and listen for what can be learned through silence as a mode of understanding. So ancestral knowledges are received through the hearing and discerning of ancestral warnings and wisdoms. Through my learning about and engagement with Black ancestral text analysis, I questioned what made my eye and ear so finely tuned to do this work, to give testimony about my analysis and use of Black history picture books, and to offer support to early childhood and elementary educators. Cynthia Diller answers this question through her definition of revisioning. As a Black woman educator, my revisioning expands my worldview of Black knowledge while bringing attention to what I intuit, see, hear, touch, and feel, which provides evidence of things unseen as I constantly remember myself and my ways of knowing. As the researcher, researched voice, text, and story being told, my lived experiences and access to collective memory grant me privilege to internal nudges and gauges that make the invisible visible and the silenced heard. My experiences as a Black girl, a Black woman, a Black educator, a Black reader, and a Black researcher make my eyes and ears finely tuned to what is lost or left in historical and contemporary records of the past. So at its foundation, Black ancestral text analysis holds and creates spaces for Black knowing through the embodied, unseen, and internal gazes presented by and through the ancestors. Because archival text can be broadly defined as documents that preserve evidence of past events, I acknowledge Black history picture books as contemporary archival text. I accept Teague Nagbe's invitation to analyze these books to read, recover, and revision what has been left for me to find. So using the Black ancestral text analysis protocol for this study, I have returned again as I gain insight from my inner eye, the internal nudges and possible ancestral knowledge left behind in the books you see here. I seek to interrogate the messages within the words and illustrations while excavating the wisdom and possible warnings. Black feminist text selection guided the books I chose to take through the protocol. BFTS puts Black women's educators' knowledge, remembering, and practices of care at the center of their selection of diverse, culturally relevant, and affirming texts. So I'm going to focus on 2 for this presentation: Jimmy's Rhythm and Blues and Build a House. But I also put An American Story, Pies from Nowhere, and the book Barefoot through the protocol. And I'll also make a note specifically Pies from Nowhere, as Teague Nagbe talk about that Black archival texts are not always written by Black folks. So for Pies from Nowhere, it is written by a white woman, but it is illustrated by a Black woman. And then also the book Barefoot, that is written and illustrated by 2 white folks. So I wanted to put as many different types of Black history picture books through the protocol. But I'm going to focus on Jimmy's Rhythm and Blues and Build a House. As Teague Nagbe find refuge, I too recognize and experience the labor, exhaustion, and pride that goes into recovering revelations while seeing, receiving, and remembering Black ancestral messages and knowledges. Often instinctively, I do this work with love and protection. Therefore, I argue that the illustrations, along with the text, but the illustrations too, specifically, hold many of the silences or unseen messages that provide further context about the centered historical event or person. So what is my time? Okay, so I want to, it wouldn't be me if I didn't read to you. I'm only gonna read to you a little bit, but I want to read the first couple of pages of Build a House, and I am going to ask for some engagement in the chat as I read. But I'm gonna read the first couple of pages, and as I read, I really want you to focus on the words being said, but also try to examine the illustrations. You won't have as much time as I've had because we can't spend all day with this book specifically. But if you want this book, I do encourage you to get it. But spending some time paying attention to the text and the words. And as I read, please feel free to put in the chat what you're noticing, maybe what you're feeling, what you're seeing, what you're not seeing, what you're wondering, what you're questioning. In the chat as I read just the first few pages. So this is Build a House. You can even examine and start with the cover of the book. This is Build a House by Rhiannon Giddens, and it's illustrated by Monica Mackay. This is for my family, for Granny Savory, for Frank Johnson, and for all the ancestors making beautiful quilts out of rags and pieces, RG. Dedicated to A, O, and D, and all of those before me who, despite it all, never lost hope. M. Build a House by Rhiannon Giddens and illustrated by Monica Mackay. You brought me here to build your house, to build your house, to build your house. You brought me here to build your house and grow your garden fine. I laid the brick to build your house, to build your house, to build your house. I laid the brick to build your house. And raised the plants so high. And then you had the house and land. The house and land, the house and land. And then you had the house and land. And then you told me, go. So I found a place to build my house, to build my house, to build my house. I'm going to stop there. If you would like to know how the story ends, you're going to have to buy the book. But I would love for you, and I'll flip back through a few pages, give us a few seconds to note, to comment in the chat what you notice, what you're thinking, what you're wondering, what you see, what you don't see, and maybe you're receiving some ancestral nudges or some internal nudges, some ancestral messages. So a few seconds and then I'll read what's in the chat. All right, muted colors. Someone who knows dyeing cloth. The illustrations are precise but respectful of the people as not to make them ragged and unkept. I was caught up at first with you in You Brought Me Here, a fine artist, not just an illustration, the repetition, the mundaneness of the labor. The girl found joy on many of the pages. The word go reminded me of my grandmother's instruction to my late mother, go and create your path. And then the images helped me to understand. The sun over the mountains, like re-rising from Kemetic pyramids. I love the page you ended on, Black Joy and Family. I had no idea there were children books with this level of depth and power. I also love the transition and agency it gives the protagonist. From Sawyer, y'all, that's my god baby. I saw them picking up cotton and the white man looked mean and the white man that said go was not nice. And Sawyer is in 2nd grade. Thank you, Sawyer. It shows joy in spite of circumstances. The distance between the enslaver's house and the homes of the enslaved. Ordered, kidnapped, exploited labor. Then the page with go lingers, haunting feelings for me. I love the repetition. The word slave is not used. I'm focusing on the facial expressions of each, but more specifically, the young girl built in a physical and spiritual, emotional sense. What was collected and taking along tools, banjo, violin, axe, and saw. Rhiannon Giddens plays the banjo, and it appears often. She does that to show where country music began. I love how the illustrator is able to capture the different emotions on the character's face, which all ages can ID with. Thank y'all. I really appreciate it. So what y'all just did is what I do each time that I pick up a Black history book. And as I said earlier, I've always read these books in this way, seeing different things, noticing different things that other educators may or may not see. And so with this page in particular, the reason I stopped on it is because, first of all, when I picked up this book, I actually initially found this book in LaGarrett's office. And I looked at the cover and I'm like, what is this book about? Like, to me, it was like, is this book about, giving off, the happy slave narrative that can often be depicted in picture books? And I was like, we don't judge books by the cover. So I remember sitting down in his office and reading it, and I took it. I think I gave it back. But I remember like getting this book and adding it to my own library because of a lot of what y'all are saying that's in this book, even though there are few words on each page. And so I stopped at this page specifically, because when I saw this, the first thing that came to my mind was the 40 acres and a mule, because they have all this land, they have their house, and they have a mule with them. Now, I don't think they had a mule at first when they first came, but when he told them go, they had the mule with them. And then unfortunately, this promise was not kept, but that is the first thing that kind of came to mind, thinking about how, though it was not written in the text, Monica Mackay, maybe she illustrated that way, maybe she didn't. But as I was reading, the nudges that I received, the wisdom that I received, to me, made it seem like this is what was illustrated here. And thinking about how this could be a teaching point if I were to be reading this book to children. So just some of those things. And I know someone mentioned that Rhiannon Giddens plays the banjo. And so some of us know that, but some of us don't. So even if you had to take time to research who are the author and who are the illustrator, which is what the Black ancestral text analysis has us do. But anyway, I'm skipping ahead. Just thinking about the work that goes into reading these books, not just to educate children, but to educate educators as well on their Black history. So thank y'all for your participation. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking time to listen and hear as you read. Oh, this is another example. Before engaging with Black ancestral text analysis and really understanding why I was doing what I was doing when I read these books, this is what my Black history picture books in my home look like. A lot of sticky notes, a lot of notes, making things or making note of things that stand out. Someone talked about the use of you. So, asking questions like whose garden is it? Noticing that this woman is pregnant, noticing that there are children integrated throughout. Someone spoke to the emotions, so thinking about how have the child's emotions changed, what is being grown and picked in the garden, maybe asking students, where do you think they are? I made a note, when you think about people who create and tend to gardens, what do you think about? These don't look like happy gardeners. So really making note of the things that I'm seeing and noticing in books, because oftentimes what we see and notice is also what children notice, and oftentimes they notice more than we do. So here's another example of a book. I put this specifically, I included the chart of putting Jimmy's Rhythm and Blues, The Extraordinary Life of James Baldwin, through the Black Ancestral Text Analysis Protocol. And within the protocol, there are 4 categories, and each category has questions. And so for the first one, we're looking at the storage, the background of our archival collection. And so thinking about what is the container of information. For this study, the container of information was picture books. And so that was, of course, my answer for each of those. But thinking about how was the information collected, I had to do a little work through the book, flipping through, looking for author's notes and illustrators' notes to see if the illustrator and author leave any inkling of where they got the information from. A lot of Black history picture books have bibliographies at the end or additional sources to show you where the information came from. How is the information stored? Whose voice is present? Whose voice is absent? And this protocol forces us to acknowledge power, like who is telling these stories, who is at the focal point, who's in the background, who has access to the container, what are the problems and complications in the collection for the retrieval of information, who is the author, the storytellers and storytelling, with whom are the author, editor, agent in conversation, who is the intended audience, how does the storyteller deliver the story, and even thinking about there are different picture books about James Baldwin. So thinking about how one storyteller tells his story versus another, what's common, or what's the same, what's different, the difference in illustrations, the difference in resources. So thinking about a lot of Black history picture books center the same person, history, moment, and thinking about how the story is told depending on the container of information. What are the methods of retrieval? And again, what's important is these books is accessing and reading through the author and illustrator's note. Thinking about the story itself. What is the abuse of power, if there is? How did the main character respond to the abuse of power, which James Baldwin does in this text? At age 10, he was searched by police in an empty parking lot, and they left him on the ground. To respond to this, he begins to write. The author writes, whether he felt frightened, lonely, sad, or worried, Jimmy let his emotions pour out from his pen. What intersectional identities are present in the story, which is another reason I wanted to select Jimmy's Rhythm and Blues for this protocol. The book speaks to the low economic status, his religious beliefs, Christianity, and also his homosexuality. The author and illustrator write about and illustrate his identity as a Black man living in the United States, experiencing racism, but he also moves to other countries. Fortunately, Jimmy's homosexuality and love for a boy when he was young and Lucian as a man are present in the text and not erased or excluded. So I also notice, when reading different books, what are the author and illustrator? And again, that's that power. They get to pick and choose what they include about Black folks. And so I really appreciated that specifically in this text, they honor who Jimmy was, his intersectionality and who he was as a Black man. And then the last column, which I felt I spent the most time on, really listening and discerning the messages from the storage and the storyteller. And this all comes together, which I appreciated being last, because you need to understand the storage, the storyteller and storytelling, and the story itself in order to discern the ancestral knowledges. So what types of refusal or resistance are enacted in the response? I put that Jimmy refused his role as a preacher, which is what his father wanted. He wrote about the injustices and racism Black people face in America. He traveled to other countries looking for peace. He protested and became a leading voice in the civil rights movement. His refusal and resistance also showed up in his writing. They write, but he was writing as his special gift, a calling to capture the voice of his ancestors, standing up for oppressed people and push the world to change. For Jimmy, writing was an act of love and discovery, and that comes directly from the text. Despite who the world and his father wanted him to be, Jimmy became who he wanted to be and created spaces for others to do so, to do and be the same. He wasn't seeking validation or to conform, and he had so much support for his writing from a young age until his death. Did the agent obtain freedom? I put that Jimmy experienced freedom through traveling to different countries. He called himself the transatlantic commuter as he traveled between Europe and the United States. He most likely experienced more freedom in Europe than he ever did in the United States. The book ends with the freedom, as the author writes, in 1971, he moved to a house in the village of St. Paul de Vence. What are the implications for understanding the refusal? I put that the way the storytellers tell the story give insight into the ways that the audience, the children, can work to manage their own emotions in moments of hardship, abuse, frustration, joy, peace, love, etc. This book shows how writing can be a tool to regulate and increase our social and emotional development. So not only are these books offering us insight into Black history, teaching us Black history, but it is giving us a view of Blackness, but also teaching lessons. We are learning, those ancestral knowledges are coming through, and these can be teaching tools as well. I'm going to go down because of time. So thinking about the silence, what are the words do you not have yet, which is what Lord calls us to do. I made a note. This is where the meditation piece comes in, which is talked about in the article. I said, I get it. The question is not quickly answered. It took me a minute. So I did have to sit and think about this after reading this text. What words do I not have yet? And I answer with, I can't imagine or put into words the exhaustion Jimmy must have experienced as a transatlantic commuter and the voice of so many people. So I made note of that. So just wanted to just share a little bit of what this protocol looks like, the questions that are answered, and of course, the Black ancestral text analysis. Your answers also depend on your knowledge of the archive and what's happening within the archive. And so I wanted to honor James Baldwin, but specifically this book, a children's book that centers his life, but also gives us all this information. So going through the Black ancestral text analysis and reading through these books again, returning to them again, because each of these books I've already read, but now I was looking at them through the Black ancestral lens. And so far, what I found is that there are different layers and levels of knowledge. Black history picture books already hold knowledge that is recovered by the authors and illustrators of these texts, and they choose what is represented in text versus what is represented in illustration. Using Black ancestral text analysis to read Black history picture books reveals all layers within the picture book. You really have to use the whole book. As my grandma Alberta would say, you got to get all the meat off the bone. So this protocol forces educators, forces researchers to really examine the book fully, looking at the author's note, the end pages, the beginning, reading the dedication, to really analyze the text. Recovery of Black historical knowledge is left is dependent on the reader as well. As we just went through looking at Build a House, some of us noticed different things while others of us didn't. So what is recovered, the different layers that are unveiled depend on us as the reader and the knowledge that we hold. Also, Black history picture books as curriculum. As I navigated through the Black ancestral text analysis protocol, I recognized that the protocol questions forced me to access the entire text. In 1990, children's literature author Violet Harris suggested that children's literature has a curriculum of its own that has also been concerned with issues of power and hegemony. So as I shared, thinking about the question, what are the implications for understanding the refusal or resistance? That can help us to bring that into the classroom. And these books themselves are so full of knowledge that they themselves are their own curriculum. So we really don't need to go anywhere else besides these picture books to help to teach this information. And then finally, these books as sites of protection. Black history picture books provide refuge, safety, and protection for Black historical moments, events, people, and histories. Black history picture books are sites of recovering Black history where knowledge is protected. These are protected spaces where readers can gain Black historical knowledge through text and illustrations in well-researched books. These books make Black history visible. As contemporary archives, Black history picture books, once published and obtained by readers and researchers, are permanent historical literary sources of information to be assessed repeatedly. So through the Black ancestral text analysis protocol, it is evident that Black history picture books provide their own curriculum, meaning that educators can use the knowledge recovered from these books to teach with. When educators take the time to intimately know Black history picture books and engage the ancestral wisdom recovered by readers, researchers, authors, and illustrators, we can give early childhood and elementary students access to stories and storytellers, retrieve and remember Black histories as tools for Black education. Educators often feel the need to reach outside of picture books to create learning opportunities and activities for students. But when we carry the ancestral messages and honor the internal nudges into our classrooms, these archival works provide plenty of curricular materials for educators to pull from to support their Black history instruction. And I also wanted to note, as LaGarrett and I spoke about the limitations of this, and so thinking about that this week, I see 3 so far. The first is time. As I said earlier, putting a picture book through the Black ancestral text analysis protocol is time consuming. So thinking about with early childhood and elementary educators, thinking about the time and space that they would have to do this work. Knowledge to recover what is received through ancestral instructions relies on the readers and researchers' Black historical knowledge. So again, I saw 40 acres and a mule. Someone else may not see that. The things I noticed about what the author and illustrator wrote about James Baldwin, someone else may not see, or connected to another Black history or historical person or historical moment. So there is the limit of knowledge, Black historical knowledge specifically. And then with the curriculum, I often tell teachers that these books can be put into the curriculum that they already teach, but one must recognize the space and spaces in curriculum where Black history books can support and enhance instruction. So you would have to know where these books could be implemented. So Diller reminds us that we've forgotten our knowings and ways of being for far too long, and our ways of knowing can exist wherever Blackness is, like with Black history picture books. Because of Black ancestral text analysis, I have proof that my archival ways of reading, recovering, revisioning, and remembering is valid and valued. Teague and Nagbe have made Black waymaking, storytelling, spirituality, and ancestral knowledge safe and protected within Black ancestral text analysis. If educators seek to truly honor Black ways of knowing, Black lives, and Black history in their classrooms, they, like me, will find refuge in Black history picture books. And as an inheritor of finely tuned eyes and ears, a receiver of unseen messages, an embodiment for protecting Black knowing and Black history, I have a responsibility to continue to disrupt systems like early childhood and elementary curricula that rebuke and silence my genius. We are a people. A people do not throw their geniuses away. And if they are thrown away, it is our duty as artists and as witnesses for the future to collect them again for the sake of our children and, if necessary, bone by bone. Alice Walker. Thank y'all so much. And I am ready to hear any feedback or questions.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I missed most of it, but I got the gist of what you were saying. And I tried for a long time to let people know that every Black early childhood education book is not for everybody or every class. And if you have no basis or knowledge yourself and have not analyzed that, you should not be trying to teach what you don't know. And sometimes what you haven't experienced or lived. I will mute myself. Good job, as usual.
Thank you, Ms. Barbara.
All right, we'll open this up for any questions. I know some of us highfalutin committee members that she has and stuff like that. We'll save our questions for our personal meeting or whatever the case may be. But this is a public forum for anyone to ask any clarifying questions, any thoughts they may have, any questions for Dawnavyn about the research process for this. So it's all open for the peanut gallery here. And Abigail, if you could look in the chat to see if there's any questions in there for her.
Actually, there is one from Dory. You noted that one of the barriers is lack of educators' knowledge of Black history. Will your research include recommendation for teacher education?
Yes, that is my hope further down the line, to take this and think about how to help early childhood and elementary educators to learn the information so that it is accessible for them and that they can get these books in their hands and see the Black history within it to bring into their classrooms. Thank you for that question. I really appreciate it.
Shakila says that her question is always the same. How do I incorporate this into my research focus, economics?
I don't have my list with me right now, but there are picture books that I have noted with schools specifically in Delaware who have a Black history mandate. And they were too looking for ways to integrate, Black history into economics. And there are a lot of picture books, depending on how you read them and understand them, that speak to economics in that way. So I'm happy to help you find some of those.
Yeah, Shakili, I think Black ancestral texts be really well too, particularly for your research as you are kind of looking at alternative ways in which teachers kind of bring economic understandings right within classrooms. So I'm thinking about the market book, the children's book market book. I have a lot of them on my bookshelf. But you can take those economic centric children's books, utilize Black ancestral texts, and kind of push on to see how different Black communities utilize economic systems within their communities.
Thank you.
Donovan, Jade is also asking for the first quote from the beginning.
I'll drop it in the chat for you.
Okay. And then Deidre has a question. I know that the presentation focuses on text analysis. However, is there any consideration on wordless children's books?
Yes. So one of the things that I found in the literature review is that picture books can be wordless. And then of course, I taught with the other Dr. King, Christina King, teaching Black history with children's literature. We examined the Black history that can be found in wordless picture books, really examining the illustrations to see what can be found, what can be noticed, and also just relying on the history of the book. Some of these books are remakes of other like Black folk tales and Black tall tales. I have not put a wordless book through the protocol, but I definitely know that they can be put through there to take some time to read the silences and see the seen and the unseen. So that would definitely work.
Also, if you want to know more about Black ancestral texts, check out our Research and Race series on our website, where they presented about their methodological framing.
This would be a good example to help children to even get into their own ancestry. That you would set up, not only take a book you have and go through it, but then allow the children in cooperation with their family. And that would be a project, a family project over a long holiday to come with their own book of something, of one event in their family, one event, one person, whoever. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the best illustrated, but it has to be something they have done, the family has done. That is the kind of thing that you treasure just as much as you treasure other people's books about their family. I'm going to mute.
Donovan, Jania also had a comment. She said, my head is swimming with ideas of how to incorporate this with high school students. They love
I
picture
was
books.
just about to say,
Yeah.
connecting to what Ms. Barbara Ann said and going through the protocol myself, like thinking about even upper elementary, middle, and high school, like having them choose a picture book and them taking it through the protocol themselves to see what they see, like whether they had different books or even giving them all the same book and seeing the differences in what they may find through answering the different questions. So that's I was thinking the same thing. Might be able to give them the protocol, and there's a bookmark that goes along with it that I can pop in the chat as well.
Donovan, quick question. Do you see Black ancestral texts as maybe a different way of historical thinking? I'm thinking because we have a lot of educators on the call here. Do you see it as another kind of approach to historical thinking and for students?
I do think I do see it as another way of historical thinking, and then also thinking about how I know I was taught that archives have to be like really, really, really old and you have to like go digging for them. But thinking about how we can help students rethink about what an archive is, and how to access it and where they can find it and then how they can analyze it. I think sometimes we kind of have kids answer the same questions about primary, secondary, and archival resources. But using these questions as a guide, I think could really help students.
All right, do we have any more questions? We are a little bit out past 12 o'clock. We have time maybe for one or two.
Thank you. This is really excellent, Donovan. I'm so proud of you. So I just wondered, so this is not her thesis or her dissertation. This is just leading her to know how to go about the research process. So I don't know if I'm talking to Donovan or to Dr. King, but I just want to know, because I didn't have this kind of background, because so get to your dissertation, you're gonna be super ready. You know what I mean?
Yes, this is not the dissertation process just yet. This is a small study that I do is one of the milestones before the dissertation proposal and dissertation. To
Just some
work
extra
on
stuff we be
creating a
letting
study
people
and
do.
engaging. Oh, what you
Just, no, just some extra stuff, just some extra knowledge you do there. Someone unmuted, I'm sorry.
Hi, Donovan. Good to see you again. And thank you for helping with your classes last year for all of us going through your book. It was beautiful and so useful for so many teachers. So I want to offer gratitude and thanks for that. I am a multi-rolled person. So one of the things I also do is write children's picture books. I'm unpublished yet. So I have this wondering about how you might influence authors with your work on the creation end, right? Because every time I hear you talk, I'm influenced by it and thinking about what I want to focus on. As a matter of fact, I've used the framework that the University of Buffalo has, and I've been focusing on Black joy in my writing. So those are really great pieces. I'm wondering how you might work with authors, if that's a desire, if it's outside the realm of what you want to do.
Oh, I think that's a great idea. I was even thinking about like creating kind of creating the definition of what a Black history picture book is, want to outline that in a way so that people can pick it up. And this analysis is helping with that, like thinking about the questions that are being asked and answered through the protocol, along with the Black historical consciousness principles. And Carol Boston Weatherford is an author, so also taking her work to also put that into the definition to help in that way. And then to also, of course, help with upcoming authors and illustrators of Black history picture books, but to also acknowledge those who are already also doing it, to like note what they're doing, and how that can definitely influence and encourage future authors and illustrators. So I'm hoping to do that with a definition of Black history picture books.
It's a shame that when I was an early childhood educator, I would make up stories to tell children and I didn't record them. And what you were saying, now that I'm into art, I'm able to perhaps bring some of those forward with my own illustration and do some books. There's so many, let me tell you, listening to this nerd school, listening to you and LeGarrette, have opened up a whole new world in education that I can use to help somebody else. You never get too old and never stop learning, because there's always something you can contribute to those coming behind you. So I'm going to shut up now for real.
Thank
All
you, Ms.
right.
Barbie.
Okay. All right. Oh, and Donovan, to Dory's comment, maybe another segment of your consulting. So put that down. For more entrepreneurship here. All right. All right. So go ahead and put your last words in the comments there. We're so delighted for you to show up today. Hey guys, as always, we really appreciate the support. For you all to take out a few minutes of your time, an hour out of your time on a Saturday morning. We really truly appreciate it. I can't state that as much. To add on to the beginning, Abigail was talking about our Juneteenth celebration with the author. The author will do something for Charter School of Inquiry, but we will also have another event at the University at Buffalo. So for those who would like to meet the author, she will do a book signing there. So if you are in the Buffalo area, come to North Campus. I'll have Christina sent out something to the listserv. If you have signed up for the nerd session, you are part of the listserv. Conference, Daphne, you have anything for the conference?
Nothing yet for the conference. Just stay close to your email because more information will be coming soon.
Okay, yes, sign up, people. Y'all, registration is open for the conference. And also, remember, we live in Buffalo, New York, all right? So we got these great hotel deals. You need to register. I mean, not register, reserve your hotel room. It's not going to cost you anything because everybody tries to do everything in Buffalo over the summer. So we do have some time for you to reserve your hotel room. Just reserve your hotel room before the deadline is over. There's always somebody that says, yo, can I reserve the hotel room for the special price? And now you can't because you went past the deadline. Everything's on the website. We can definitely add some more rooms if we don't have them available, and we should know that by Monday. I think we have a meeting on Monday. So if we don't have enough rooms, we'll add some more rooms. The link is there as well. So Juneteenth's coming up. Also a few things that I forgot to put in the first slide. Oh my God, this is the anniversary coming up, May 14th of the Tops shooting here in Buffalo, New York. So if you are in Buffalo or if you are in surrounding areas, see what type of events are going on for remembrance of the Buffalo 10. Is just a few days away for that. So send a prayer out of silence for May 14th for the victims of the Tops massacre. Also, Malcolm X's birthday is coming up, 100 years. He would have been 100 today. So these are some special Black historical facts. All right, anything else for the good of the community? Move bombing Philadelphia, May 13th. Okay, all right. Just some tragedies, but grateful remembrance. So we can hopefully not have those things ever happen again within our spaces. Okay. All right, good people. You all have a wonderful. For all the mothers, happy Mother's Day. All right. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. So hopefully, tomorrow will be a very special day with you and your family. Okay. All right. See y'all good people later. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a